Welcome back to our Python class lectures. And today we are covering on day 31. We're talking about more about testing. And we saw how we can write unit tests, meaning testing is, modules, simple functions, for example. You could also test bigger parts of the program by using assertions and creating a separate function. The only, like I said, the downside is, of course, you need to say some sort of, have some sort of structure. If you say add, and you may write test add, it's not set in stone. And also, of course, the problem is that we might forget to write it. Basically, it's easy to have these two functions, testing separate, from add, and it kind of floats away. So there are a couple other ways of doing it actually, but we will look at doctest, which is, I think, much better way of testing, right? So again, I'll make another file. I'll say doc testing fun docs. I'll say fun docs, maybe something like that, right? And basically we can sort of say hit two birds with one stone, of course, right? We will use docstring, doctest, docstrings, and also we will use doctest to test our function. So my function, my fun, define. Let's create a function that adds two numbers. Okay, let's stick with add again. Sure, why not? Right, def add. And the thing is, look at this here. So that's all the magic. So remember what's happening, right? Function, right? So we have remember. All right, remember. So remember creates or after creates a docstring after the function, right? So right, and notice also these things right here. What is this? So yeah, that is for function that adds two numbers. We can say description function. This function has numbers. Okay, fantastic, right? We could add some emojis. We could add some, right numbers. Of course. Also, we would have to numbers. Well, not necessarily. Maybe, of course, we could add also anything. Add two similar objects, right? That support addition. Exactly. Thank you. AI is reading my mind. I like it. I like it a lot. Right. So parameters are two objects of same type. Yeah, of same type. All right. So right. All right. So yeah, support addition, of course. Right. All right. So that's all. So isn't this better? Right. We have the test inside. Okay. You say, okay, so how are we gonna test this? Well, right. There is a special module called doctest, which will test it for you. So you don't need to do anything else. You already should be writing docstrings. You add some texts, right? I think this is much better way of doing it, right? Because it's integrated into your function, right? Obviously, the downside of this. Well, let's test it. Okay, let's test our tests. So first of all, I need to run it. Well, if I run it, basically nothing will happen, obviously, right? But that's what we want. We want to actually run special command, right? So I will go to, so let's see what my Python version is, right? Okay, so let's see if I can run it. So Python m doctest, right? And I can run it. I'll need, of course, going deeper. It's in day 31, right? Day 31, right? On fun docs, right? All right, let's see if this works. Yeah, so it worked. Okay. You say, okay, so big deal. Well, something happened, right? So it actually did test it. So let's add a test which will fail. Let's add a test which will fail. Let's add a test, maybe add 500, 3000, and something like that. Okay, so it's a bad test, right? So let's try it again. Save it and run it again. Right, test failed, one failure. So expected 3000, got 2600. Also, you got a nice answer as well. So that's also good, right? You see, one of three tests failed, right? Again, if you use, I think, PyCharm or some other Visual Studio, maybe some of the Visual Studio Code plugins, you could also have some more output for tests. But this is already good, right? You see nice in your terminal, you see your results. So yeah, so this is what I recommend as if you need write tests, use this method, right? So the only downside, of course, is if you sort of have spend a lot of time writing these tests here, right? So, but still, I think it's a good practice. There are other ways you can use. There's other libraries for testing, such as unit testing library, but docstring, I think this doctest is good. There are other approaches, of course. The downside of this approach, so we can keep going, of course, right? Again, we don't have to break our flow, right? We can leave the main guard, right? We can leave this leaves main guard for other code, you know, such as integration testing, maybe such as interactive testing, for example, maybe some other testing, you know, right? You know, we could do some other things, of course, right? Let's see what they offer. Yeah, import this. Yeah, we could do this like we could do it. Actually, I think we could do this as well. Let's see. Let's see. Again, this is manual approach. Can we do this? I have not tried this. Right. Ah. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's see what happens. Yeah, so it works. So this is another way, right? Also, so that's another approach. We can use this. We can use also, we can call doctest from here, right? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so we can run it from the code, or we can also run it by importing, right? So quite nice, right? Is so on the so quite good, right? We could also check the output, right? You could check also the output, right? Yeah, you can test also the output on a printed screen as well, right? Let's fix this first. Let's fix this in a moment. We'll see. Okay, we're almost finished. Let's finish this. Let's fix this test. It'll be 229, right? Yeah. So now everything works. Check function prints something. Let's create a function. Let's create a function that prints something. String. So maybe uppercase. Right. Function string. Right. Hello. Right. Of course, obvious function. Right. In comes print string. So this also will work. Right. Right. A string, of course, very simple one, but we can run it again. Right. So text works. Right. Text works. Of course. Let's say I'll say. Hello Valdis, right? If I say Valdis, right, I'll say here Valdis, right, right, and it won't. It should fail. You see, test failed. Expected world here, right? Notice this is this function that doesn't return anything. So we can use it. So we can use doctest to test print output as well. Output as well, right? Such as string, right? Because remember, right, this function where printing does not return anything. Remember again, print does not return anything, but we can still test it, right? So that's also alternative, right? Because there are functions which output, right? So you can test the output, right? Pretty nice, right? Very useful, I think. So again, it's as simple as that. Of course, you can get things complicated. Of course, there are methodologies or that such as test driven development. Maybe you'll have a lecture on this separately, where you write tests, failing tests first, then make those tests work, pass. Right. So that's a very interesting the methodology. Some people are really excited about this. I mean, I think it has some value, but I'm not maybe 100% sold on this. Some people really like it. Right. I have some counter examples I can show where this doesn't work, but it works for some type of tasks. It's really good. We can discuss those. Maybe we'll discuss them in the second part of the course. Right. So by writing the code. All right. So that is a short introduction to testing using doctest, and hopefully this gave you some good ideas, and we'll see them in class how to do some more testing.